Hey, Mary Lou, can you hear us?
Sure can.
We're streaming, so I'd like to call the Town of Rochester Town Board August 28th, 2025 workshop meeting to order. If you could all stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilwoman Alba? Here. Councilman Coleman?
Here.
Councilman Sneesa is not here. Councilman Nguyen?
Here.
Supervisor Now.
I am here. So our first item on the agenda tonight is the acceptance of the agenda. I'd like to make a couple amendments. So I'll make a motion that the town board accepts the agenda as prepared by the town supervisor with the following amendments. That will add an appointment to the Housing Advisory Committee, and we will move the parking ticket resolution to a discussion item. Second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstain, motion carries. Okay, so our last meeting was our business meeting. We usually do board and committee liaison reports. Because we had to rush through that agenda because we had some quorum issues at the end of the evening. So I just wanted to give opportunity to board members to go ahead and give your reports if you had something prepared.
Yes, sure. Ag committee is easy because they adjourned this month until September due to scheduling. ECC is getting all set to do pollinator garden project in front of the town hall. So last I heard, they're sending budget and preliminary plans to supervisor with the plan for 9/13 site prep, 10/13 for installation, and they're going to coordinate donations and get the notice out for volunteers. Anything else they should know from your office?
I had a meeting with them today.
All right, cool. Then you know more than I do. Climate Smart, moving forward with collecting documentation for bronze status, coordinating with Erin to meet. Funding Futures had the first event with Joel Glansberg of Regenesis Institute for a nature-based workshop to explore community outreach strategies and planning future events. Super cool event. Erin was there. It was a lot of fun. I'm sorry? Oh, and the right to farm signs are up. Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot that. So yes, that was for the ag committee. We're really excited that I think there's 4 or 5 signs.
There's 4, yeah.
4 signs, so keep an eye out for them. Thank you.
Yeah, so let's see. Planning board continues to be busy. So July 27th meeting, they had 8 applications that they were working on. Thought they were going to get out early, but it was still quite a long meeting. I also had the chance to try and keep minutes for that meeting, and it is very difficult. So Kate, thank you to you and everyone else who does that. It's impressive. I actually was talking to the chair earlier today. He and I are going to schedule some recurring meetings, I think, to talk through with everything going on. Communicalab, other possible things that they're noticing in the code, because there's been a lot of discussion about changes in the code, and any other issues they'd like to talk with the board about addressing. So we're going to start doing that so that we can kind of keep ahead of this and hopefully streamline that process. ZBA meeting, they had 2 applications before the ZBA this month, both area variances. So I think moving along there. Don't have anything on the exchange currently. I haven't heard of any issues. So assuming that's still well, I need to reach out to them again. And then I know we had some meetings last week before, can't remember when it was, with related to some of the AID, the Ambulance Improvement District stuff, as well as the contracts for next year. Sat down with KFAS. We had 2 meetings and last week, and we had a good discussion. about some of the reporting and some of the financials that we were seeing from them. So I think we have a good path forward. I know also that KFAS is going to be doing an event. I can't remember the day. I think it's the 13th of September. I saw some announcements posted on their Facebook page where they're gonna open up and offer tours and take questions from the public. So check on their Facebook page and you can get some more information about that.
Will you contact Stacy about putting that as a news item?
Yes, I will.
I guess I might forget. Thank you. Councilman Nguyen, did you want to report on the court
Very
today?
briefly, I had a meeting with Justice Alba, the two clerks and two of the constables who are typically on duty there. We discussed a number of things. This is the first time they've met with a liaison in a while. Most of the issues related to security of the premises and the court operations. The condition of the physical plant and some of the procedures related to parking tickets and how those are handled, which we'll discuss later. But that's the summary.
Great. Okay, anything? I think that's it. You did your report. Charlotte did hers. She'll be here in a few minutes. So now we're moving on to the public comment portion of our meeting. We hold a portion of our meeting at every single meeting that we have scheduled to hear from the public. This is the time for the public to address the town board. We handle this like we do a public hearing where all comments are made directly to the board. We ask that this not be a form of debate or conversation between members of the audience. We have a practice of not responding to questions as the public comment portion of the meeting is happening. But if there are questions or concerns raised, our next agenda item is called town board member time. And oftentimes we do address remarks made at the public comment portion of the meeting at that part of the meeting. So we do encourage people who have come to address the board to stick around for that next agenda item if you'd like to hear potential responses from the board. Is there anyone on Zoom?
We have children before.
Okay, so yeah, we usually start with everyone who's in person and then we check to see if anyone has joined via Zoom. So with that, is there anyone here who would like to address the board? Yes.
Good. I guess speaking on the town, from the housing committee, we just wanted to make everybody aware about the opening of the ADU +1 program that should be on the website on the housing website, housing page on the town website, that applications are going to be accepted and until they're filled, but I think the deadline is.
So they start reviewing applications submitted between now and the 19th of September. That's when they start reviewing. And then as they award applicants the grant money, it then whittles down. So the application window stays open until the funds run out.
Right, and funding is up to like
$112,000 to build an ADU if you are eligible by their income thresholds and some other criteria, including that your ADU or your main house will be rented out under affordable for people who earn 80% of the area median income, which is 30. You only spend 30% of your income on housing, and that makes it affordable. And just rough math, that means that you would be renting out your unit for probably give or take $1,600. But that for 10 years, and then after the 10 years, you can do what you want. That's if you get awarded money. So
And we just wanted everybody to be aware of it, we thought.
It's a short window of time to get all the requirements together. We're hoping that they have the funding next year and people are aware of it for next year and can get their ducks in the row. We would be happy to guide them through the process.
Is there anyone else who'd like to address the board tonight?
Yes, please. Good evening, dear town board members. My name is Jamie Diamond. I've lived in the town of Rochester my entire life. Here this evening to talk to you about the stop signs that were installed last year at the intersection of Boyce Mill and Dunn Farm Roads. For some history, this is a three-way stop sign, also known, or three-way intersection, also known as a T. Throughout history, my entire life and beyond, there have never been any stop signs on the straight section of the intersection, only on the T that's coming from Sampsonville Road. Now, last year, due to the Sampsonville Road bridge being out, there was extra traffic put on that road, extra strain on that, so the signs were installed on the T section. These signs were installed without any recommendation by the town highway superintendent and without any study at the time. They were installed for one day, they were removed because there was no town board action. Then the town board approved them and then they were reinstalled. That's neither here nor there. Approximately a week after the signs were installed, though, the village on Boyce Mill Road between the intersection and Sampsonville was closed because it was condemned because it's in bad shape. That means at that time, there was no intersection whatsoever. Presently, there's a barrier installed in the middle of Boyce Mill Road, approximately 150 feet from that intersection. There are no driveways, roads, or other means of egress on this short section of road, so it's impossible for traffic to enter the intersection from that side. Additionally, we have seen many times where the people that live right there block the intersection with their vehicles, appear to be using it as a parking lot. This equates to just a mid-block stop sign that serves no purpose other than to confuse drivers and encourage them to ignore the stop signs. Highway Superintendent Jeff Fry has recommended that the signs be removed, but the board did not take that recommendation in the January meeting and instead voted for them to remain. The conversation at that time said they should stay because they are used to slow traffic for people walking in the area, which is not the proper use of a stop sign. These signs were installed illegally because the town board did not take proper action upon installation. The Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices provides guidelines that must be adhered to for sign installation on any road that is open for public travel. These signs do not meet many parts of this matter. Number one, whenever a decision for implementation of a new stop sign is required, the manual requires that a traffic study be conducted. This would never have been approved by a traffic engineer because the guideline for all-way stop signs at an intersection is that traffic flow must be approximately equal on all sides of the intersection. That has never been true, and it is definitely not true with that section of the road closed. Number two, the manual clearly states that yield or stop signs shall not be used for speed control. This is what the town indicated that they are being used for based on the recording of the January meeting. Number three, the manual is clear that implementing all-way stop signs at intersections with substantially differing approach volumes, such as this, can reduce the effectiveness of the stop signs for all users of the road. There are many people that travel this road daily or occasionally when traveling to work. We should not have to waste our time by stopping at these signs twice per day that are installed illegally and frankly serve no purpose because there is presently no intersection. Compounding this is the fact that state troopers often sit at the intersection and write tickets. I received a ticket in April for allegedly running the stop sign. I took all of the above evidence to the town prosecutor, I pled not guilty, and he elected to dismiss all charges. So this was just a big waste of everyone's time. But what is sad for other town residents is that I've stopped there and I've talked to the troopers and asked, how many tickets are you writing? They said many tickets. When I went to court, I asked the prosecutor, how many have you seen? He said, this is the first one. So that tells me that everybody getting a ticket is just going in, paying guilty, and paying the fine. That's wrong. This is like a trap. On the evening of August 18th, last Monday, we went to the signs and collected signatures on a petition to remove the signs. We were at the intersection for only about 1.5 or 2 hours. We collected 22 signatures. This may not seem like a lot, however, all of the signatures came from this short time period, and over 80% of the vehicles that traveled through during this time period were happy to sign the petition. In conclusion, these signs were installed illegally in the first place. The town highway superintendent has recommended that they be removed, and they currently serve no purpose other than to potentially trap residents into paying expensive fines for tickets that the prosecutors won't even prosecute. You please not do it. Please remove the signs as soon as possible. Thank you. Thanks, Katie.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the board tonight?
You agree?
I do agree.
Yeah, I agree as well.
Yes,
Okay.
I've lived here 60 years.
Your whole life,
The
Dave.
squeaky milk and milk crease.
Has anyone joined on Zoom? Okay, so with that, I'll close the public comment portion of our meeting tonight. Our next agenda item is town board member time. We are well ahead of schedule. Do any board members have anything they'd like to bring up right now or would like to answer or address anything that came up?
Sure, I would like to, for one, I wanna thank the housing committee for coming, and making the public aware of the +1 ADU program at Rupco and their dedication to making sure that our community is aware of these programs, so thank you guys. And I just wanna say again, the applications are open, it is through Rupco, it is the +1 ADU program. For people who don't know what an ADU is, that's an accessory dwelling unit, so that's an additional like cottage or, small apartment above a garage on a property. The funding source, it is first come, first serve, so as applications are coming in, they are processing the grants, so there's a certain amount of money, and once that's out, then they close them. So apply while you can, if the applications are on Rupco's website, the applications are on the county's housing Facebook page and their housing site link on the county site. And I believe they also are on our town's housing committee site also as a link for a resource. So check that out. So again, thank you to you guys. And then in response to the stop signs on the Boyce Mill intersection, I just want to clarify a couple of things for the record. Those signs were originally installed by the highway superintendent without the board's authorization. They were removed at the request of the board because we did not authorize their installation. We then, at the request of the then highway superintendent Fry, from his request, asked and approved they be installed during that traffic hazard, the issues with traffic that were going on from the detour. I now understand, I know that the bridge is closed and it's only one road, I understand. In January, when the request was made to the board by Highway Superintendent Fry, he was not acting highway superintendent, he was out on a medical leave, if I'm not mistaken, in January.
Well, that was,
last year.
it actually was last,
September.
it was in September, or it was November of 2024, I think.
Okay. Which he was still.
Yeah.
Out on medical. leave.
No, he was
No,
here
He
when
was
that
here still
happened.
at that point, okay. So in January, I think he was at that point, but so then stay.
It was
corrected for that.
October.
Yeah. And for the insinuation that they're a trap for people to plead guilty to a crime that they committed by running a traffic sign that is legally authorized right now. I find a little outlandish. We are not forcing people to run a legally authorized stop sign and then telling them how to plead to trap them. When you plead guilty, it's just the court minimum, the town doesn't make any money off of that, just as for the record, so. But thank you all for your.
Any other members have anything?
Yeah, I'll revisit the January meeting because I know people commented on things that I was saying in that meeting. What I remember saying was that it didn't make sense to me to remove the signs if the signs may ultimately be put back when the bridge is open. As Charlotte pointed out, they were originally installed in an improper way, but were then installed legally. And from my perspective, I think having the stop signs there for the duration of the construction is an acceptable thing to do, as opposed to taking down signs, which may then have to be put back up when the bridge is complete. So happy to hear people's feedback. You can give me a call or email me if you want to talk about it. But at this point, I don't really see a reason to remove stop signs that were put there when the bridge was open, if they may ultimately need to be put back there. So that's just
Question.
perspective.
No more back and forth.
You can call me if you.
We do have we have this topic as a discussion item at the end of the meeting, so we will be revisiting the topic. I wanted to add that for the +1 ADU program, that it came up really quickly. We've been sort of waiting, and then all of a sudden it's like now. So anything, we can do a news item on the front page of the website that makes it more visible, and if we want to do more information, if we have something we can stick up for an additional page or in there, we can do that pretty quickly if we have something to go off of. So I just wanted to offer that. Okay. Yes.
I just also wanted to thank the housing committee for their work last year after we were not included in one of the municipalities to be allowed to apply for the grant. For their letter writing to the county and to Repco and to us to make us aware of that, to let us also be able to respond and put pressure on those the powers that be that authorize what townships go on that list. And thank you guys for advocating for us again. So I just wanted to point that out for the public that we were not included on that, and the housing committee did do a lot of work and letter drafting and sending and calling to make sure that we were on the list and the municipality allowed to apply this time around. So thank you.
Okay, all right. We'll move on to resolutions. I'll make the first one. Well, I'll be making the first two. So I'll make a motion that the Town of Rochester Town Board accepts the 8B 2025 abstract and approves the payments in the following amounts. General fund is $485.85 of prepaid bills and $67,713.54 unpaid bills. Highway fund expenditures are $252,028.94. Street lighting fund, $193.44. And escrow was $1,871. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. So my next resolution is a budget modification, which I have in front of me. So if we can, in discussion, if you guys have any questions, I'll make the motion that the town board approves a highway fund budget modification of moving $8,000 from budget code 5130.410 machinery, supplies and materials to 5130.467 machinery repairs. The new budget total for machinery, supplies and materials will be $30,000. And the budget total for machinery repairs will now be $20,000.
Second.
Any discussion?
What's the range?
So there are more repairs than we budgeted for, and 2 trucks and a tractor got quotes for that. So this will cover the labor portion of the repairs, and we have funds in our the other budget that covers the parts budget to cover the parts portion, but this will cover those expenditures.
Okay.
And we're not projected to expend everything out of the supplies material. They're in the same 4-digit code. So we're just sort of moving it from that down to. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. So we had this on our last agenda, but we just tabled anything from our last agenda that we didn't need to do. So I shared this quote with the board about a month ago, and then I had it again in our packet for tonight. So I'd like to make a motion that the town board approves the contract amendment with Unicolab to add building department services at a cost of $3,625 for the remainder of year one, which includes setup. $2,250 for year two and $2,250 for year three, and authorizes the supervisor to sign the amended contract agreement.
Second that.
Discussion?
Trying to find it again, but I remember,
The quote?
yeah. Yeah, I think this is, for me, this makes sense, given everything I've heard about how involved they've been with integrating with the planning board and how supportive. And your support agreement says that we're gonna receive unlimited support in the configuration and operation at no additional cost, so that's pretty generous. And I know they've been living up to that, so I think it's a great opportunity.
Yes. Great. So. Anything else? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstain? So I don't know if you guys want to discuss this next one at all first. I put, this email, I have copies of for each of you. This one, Solly, did you pass one to Charlotte?
These are both for Charlotte.
Yeah. So this, this line item was part of the original bid for the seasonal restroom facility that we did not choose to do. So the contractor is recommending that we add it and asked that I put this to the board.
Is there a warranty?
That's a good question. I do not know. I think it's a coating. That, you know, they're recommending. It is this additional cost, so I really just wanted to get I really want you guys to tell me whether or not you want to do this or not. I don't.
I think it's a good idea.
I think as long as it includes the slip resistant material, because epoxy on its own doesn't, but.
I think it's a good idea. My only concern is if there's a faulty application of the installation, it starts to peel off in a year or two.
They probably have some time before they would apply this anyway, right?
Well, they did want me to get approval for this because they're at the final stages.
I think we should epoxy the floor. My only concern is I want to make sure that there are the slip resistant. You know, the tracks or whatever that they have to put in so that it's slip resistant. And that it still meets ADA with. Whatever the surface is, that it's not gonna, you know, just continue that as an ADA bathroom if it's. Epoxy, you know what I mean, like
Okay.
slip resistance, but other than that, I'm totally fine with that.
And you want to make sure there's some kind of warranty.
Do you have an idea how long?
I'm concerned about faulty installation.
Yeah.
So a year will be.
Yeah, I think a year or even 6 months, so that makes it through. What makes that happen, I think it would happen in the
It's gonna
winter.
happen soon, yeah. Or it's gonna happen over the winter.
Yeah, so a year would be great. Do you want me to do
But
that?
6 months is fine too.
Okay, so, so I will, Mary Lou, what I was gonna propose, I make that resolution contingent upon those terms.
Yes, but you guys should decide whether you want the 6 months or the year. You might want to go for the year because I don't
Yeah.
know how much it would be used over the winter.
Yeah, I would say a year. Okay. Okay, so I'll make a motion that the town board approves a change order to the municipal park bathroom project contract. for the addition of epoxy flooring in the amount of $22,400 contingent upon a 1-year warranty or faulty install, the slip resistant additive, and the flooring still meeting ADA compliance, and authorizes the supervisor, I'm gonna say, to approve.
Second.
Any more discussion?
Do they have like a general warranty on their work? I wonder if it would be covered under.
That, well, I'll check it,
Okay.
yeah. Any more? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, motion carries. Oh, hold on, let me pull up Mary Lou's notes. On this one. There's some language we needed to. Mary Lou, did you have the language you wanted to add to the road maintenance agreement in front of you?
I do. And all we need on this is, instead of having an attached map, they should change the language to put in the title of the subdivision map and say that and to be filed simultaneously herewith.
Okay, did you get that, or should we say it again? Okay. We just take 1 second. Okay. So. I will make a motion that the town of Rochester Town Board accepts the road maintenance agreement for the Meadow Lake subdivision. As presented. And approved by the attorney for the town with the following amendments. That the opening paragraph should have the title of the subdivision map instead of the language attached maps, and state that the map is being filed simultaneously with the road maintenance agreement.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. For the next one, Mary Lou, you were saying, I basically need to go back to them and say we need something before we can approve this.
Well, you can approve the amount of the bond of $60,805.
Okay.
However, it should say that we need to have an agreement for the cash bond setting forth the obligations of both, is it Meta? Yeah, Meadow Lakes and the town. And then I know not many people give cash bonds. I know I have some back somewhere in the history of my municipal work. I just couldn't get it for tonight, but I can try and get you something for next week. I'm sorry,
Okay.
next meeting.
Okay.
So Mary Lou, what is how long is the cash bond held in escrow to set?
It's generally 3 years.
Okay.
And they have 3 years to finish it. And if they don't, we keep the bond. If they finish it before, they go to the planning board. The engineer for the planning board would have to confirm that it's done. And then they would come to the town board to release that cash bond. They can also, if they get half of it done, they can request that half be paid out to them, but it would all need engineer's approval and the town board approval.
And this is for completion of the road or?
It's the,
Well, something else I had in the email to Aaron is I need to see what the planning board decision is gonna be, because I don't really know what the bond is for. I
It's-
assume it's for the road, but it may have other utility things that are included. I'm not sure.
it's electrical cable along the shared driveways, new trees.
Okay, so yeah, so there's,
Yeah.
so that's why we need the agreement. We have to have an agreement that says all the things they have to do. And then it will also say the process for us to release the bond back to them.
Okay.
Is there a rush on this or can we wait until that agreement's in place?
They can't do anything until this is in place.
I was gonna say, can we authorize you contingent on Mary Lou?
Well, we
Sure.
can approve the bond amount and then they can put those agreements together
But then we would need to approve the agreement.
at our next meeting.
Yes,
And that's okay.
Yeah, that way,
Yes.
at least the amount is in the agreement. Right?
and yeah, usually with bonding, first you approve an amount
Yeah,
and then the form of bond comes in and that gets approved at a subsequent meeting. So this is just following the natural progression on this kind of thing.
that was.
Is that really necessary though? Because you're not gonna put the cash up until they have the agreement.
They need to have. the
Right,
bond.
but we also want to put the amount in the agreement.
Okay,
I
so,
motion that the town board accepts, or sorry, which one? I'm doing F, right? The. first
Yeah.
one.
sorry.
No, I just wanted to make sure I was reading the right one. The town board accepts the road maintenance agreement for.
Oh, no,
Nope.
sorry, G.
G, I'm sorry, I was like, wait a minute, I'm wrong. The town board accepts the performance bond as
This one
Nope.
amount
of
of
$60,805.
60,000. $805. As presented and approved by the town, by the attorney for the town.
No,
No?
just approve the amount.
For the amount, okay.
And request,
And
And
then you could
request.
say, and request that the town attorney prepare an cash bond escrow agreement.
As Mary Lou said.
I'll second.
Did you get everything that
Yeah.
Mary Lou said? Cool, thank you.
Oh. We good on discussion?
Oh.
We
We should also make sure when you look at the estimate, it identifies trees and it says 13 each and then lists 2 types of trees. I'm not sure if the planning board read that as 26 total or 13 total and what was in, so I'm just curious what the planning board requirements were. This is not clear to me,
It'll be in the decision.
yeah. So
Yep. That
Yes.
Mary Lou will reference when she drops the
think so.
agreement, is what she was saying.
Yeah, Aaron, if you could ask Robin to send that decision to me, I'd appreciate it.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, motion carries. Okay. That's it for resolutions tonight. We do have a lot of, it's okay that we're blowing through this agenda. We have a lot to discuss in executive session tonight. We do have a lot of discussion items though, so one of the things I just wanted to do a gut check with the board on is where you guys feel like we're at for our 2025 priorities, for your 2025 priorities that you'd like to see. So I don't know if anyone thought about, I put that in an email to you guys, but does anyone want to share or have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I'd like to kind of get the ball rolling on at least coming up with a timeline about when we can have the municipal code looked at by an outside consultant agency, or at least get a quote to see what's involved with that. I think that's a big priority for me. And then also kind of getting all the interested parties together to talk about grants and how we can be a united force instead of duplicating effort. So that's my 2 things.
Okay.
I would like to see us at least have a site plan for the park in the back to know what we are ordering for whenever we can order it. Now that everything's finally cleared and the new fence is up, I know that it took a minute. We had to do bid approval, blah, 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 there, and the bathroom got delayed too, which was part of this project. So I'd like to see us at least get some quotes in to kind of have some type of idea of exactly which equipment we want to put back there and order. So we can get it in since it was budgeted for this year, we can at least, order it to be installed. If it has to be, wait for the spring when the ground is thawed or something. I don't know how they got installed, so they can do it in winter. The only other priority, that I had, that was my largest one, was trying to get the housing, transfer tax on the ballot, which unfortunately we are not able to because we were not able to get it introduced into both houses in time, but I do want to make sure, I would like us to maybe have that verbiage locked in after budget season so that we can maybe approve. Oh, what is the thing that we have to send to them?
We did that already.
Oh, didn't we have another one we had to send once they passed it? No, okay, I thought we had one more that we had to write, so no, never mind, we're good. Carry on. Okay. I mean, we didn't even know about insurance.
I mean, I'm looking at the list that we had and I think we've made a lot of good progress on things. Big one that we've talked about as kind of a major task is potentially looking at the comp plan and updating that. So maybe what we can aim to do through the rest of the year is have a plan set up for how we would tackle that. Potentially, if the next board would tackle that in the new year. And I think too, as we look at budget, I know you brought up kind of the need for looking at some major, addressing some major building issues around the town. So it might be good to start laying out kind of a 5-10 year plan for that and how we might start budgeting, prioritizing some of that work. So I know that's a big priority for you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, can I just second my notes on that? I would maybe just at least have like a bigger picture, holistic discussion about exactly which buildings we know we need updated, that we know we need. Like, we know we need a new town hall. We know we need things replaced in certain buildings and like things taken down, so just get up like an inventory of what we know we need to kind of.
Wasn't somebody working on that?
But we had something.
We
years
had
ago.
something.
We had one that
5
was
years
done,
ago.
yeah, like a building condition
Survey.
survey, was it 27?
That's too big to email or something.
Yeah,
No,
it's
it's
like
in our, it's in our drop,
it's
in our
in the
Dropbox.
Was it
I think it was 2020.
2020? Oh, was it later than I was thinking? Did you run?
It's been it's like a 5-year plan, but it's been 4 years.
Is that a 20 or 21?
Yeah,
Yeah, so we're on the board with.
yes. Mhm.
Yeah, so I guess maybe we can all review that and like use that as like
Yeah.
a basis to see where each of us see the most, what is the top priority.
It's a low hanging fruit.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly, so just saying.
You good?
Yeah, good.
Okay, so this all is good, it's in line with what I was thinking, so that's good. A couple of these things are actually, I did have discussion items for them. For one of the things I'm thinking of doing is, having I wanted to have a bigger, so for the budget process, budget requests are supposed to be going out now. I need to get those out tomorrow. Those are due back to me from departments by the 20th. One of the things I'm asking departments to think about is our 5 and 10 year goals. the way the budgeting works is there's these department budgets which cover like revenue and then really specific things that happen within the department. But then we have buildings and grounds, we have parks, we have our shop for vehicles. Those are all shared codes. So there's not a department. And they're actually also no revenue is generated at all for those codes. So they are like big expense codes. And this is where we see, you know, a lot of the non-capital planning work budgeting. So what I'm thinking of doing is separate from the department requests. I wanted to do a request for a more department head or department supervisor gathering where we talk about what is needed to help set priorities. So, you know, I think I can have that meeting. We could think about having that as being a public meeting that is with the board. We can think about ways to do that, but I think it's really important that we start doing some more collaborative planning on those, because it's been very siloed, the way we think about those codes. And I've seen that that's where the budget doesn't really reflect what's actually
Do
happening.
we allocate any of those costs back to the departments that use them?
No, not the building costs. So like the courthouse cost goes into 1620 or 1640, which is our buildings code. So those expenditures aren't part of their budget, but I need those requests. Like,
Right.
I need there to be a way that I'm just using that as an example. Because it's the most obvious example. Like the least obvious example would be like the chairs. Or I mean, the other side of that would be something like the chairs that are shared among everybody. But they're most used by our rec department usually. So any equipment, for example, like equipment that's for the administration of the court, that's their equipment line, but the general buildings, repairs and things. And capital improvement projects, those are part of a main. And I think the other sort of, I've been talking about this, but we don't have a 10-year plan. And when we have that kind of vision, then we're able to think about if we want to do special reserve accounts, which require a lot more planning and legislation on our part, because those require a referendum for use, but that's where you can put a lot. You could budget $100,000 or $200,000 a year and put it in a fund.
Permissive or mandatory?
I believe it's mandatory. When it depends. The board, I had a 5-hour meeting with our accountant last week, so the board can create a general reserve account by resolution, and we can put money in it. It can be more general, not like a specific purchase. But then to spend that money, it's up to the voters. Or we can create
A proactive referendum or a referendum.
I believe it's permissive. That was what the accountant said. Or I'm sorry, mandatory. It's mandatory. So you would only want to use that for really big purchases. So that's a general fund that is for a more specific use, but the thing that you're purchasing is not named. So the board can create the fund by resolution, but then once you're ready to spend it, the voters decide. Or you can decide you're buying something, say, you know, a $500,000 truck in 2 years or 3 years. You can, then that is, I'll clarify whether it's permissive or mandatory, but that fund creation is subject to a referendum. But then when you are ready to do the purchase, you just purchase it. So, but that allows, we can also do things for specific, there's other ways that we can do it. But the idea is that we need to start budgeting for allocation of funds towards a future purchase. So last year we spent $105,000 out of a reserve that the board had created that had $105,000 for broadband. And that had been hanging out for years because the board created it in 2014, I think. So that's just an example. We could only use that money for a very specific purpose. Why am I blabbing on about that? I was thinking that because I'm doing the budget by committee, I was hoping that in the month of October, we could do some more focused workshops on this topic as a board. Because I'm not gonna do the same, we're having 6 meetings going line by line on the budget. But I thought that, maybe we could commit some of that to really refining what we want to do in time for the final budget adoption. So I'm gonna put a placeholder in the tentative budget for something so that we're not way off when we get to the final, but that one's just gonna take a lot more work to make progress on this year, I think, than we've been giving.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just talking a lot. Anything else?
I mean, I'd be curious to know more about that process. So if there are areas we can get more information, like if we set up that reserve account, like what's the process if you start funding it for a town hall or for a highway garage or something, how do you get quotes? How do you, like, what information do you need to be able to put it to referendum? Can you do things like, it's gonna cost this much, we'll pull this much from the fund and then get a bond for the rest? So I don't know where all those details are, if it's in the town code or something else, but I'd be curious to read more about it. And Mary Lou, I don't know if you know specifically where it's laid out. But yeah, it'd be interesting to know.
Yeah. I can try to put a bunch of information together.
Or if our accountant has links.
Yeah. So I'll just pull out a bunch of stuff. I think the other thing, the one thing that I feel that I don't have a ton of time is the equipment for the back.
I can work on that.
You
You
can?
can take that as a side project and do
Okay.
quotes, yeah, cause I also, last week when I attended the, art department's meeting, I met with Ashley like briefly for like 10 minutes and there is, me right now, I just frantically looked at my bag, I couldn't find it. There is a rural park, there's a rural senior community center with senior activities specific New York State, like New York, it's similar to New York Rising, grant, or the New York, what was it? It's a community
Oh,
grant.
like Restore?
Yeah, like it's similar to Restore, but it's for upgrading community centers that offer a certain percentage of senior services to them, and we offer mostly senior services at ours for classes, so we definitely qualify. So I talked to her about maybe doing only half of what we had budgeted for to try to get installed for the end of the year, and then saving the other half to do for match on that grant for next year and apply for it to see if we can kind of double it and get maybe a larger, because we talked about doing maybe some exercise equipment for senior classes there, so I'm happy to take that on and
Okay.
see what I can get for quotes and stuff for us.
Yeah, and I know that Ashley also is invested in it, and we can touch base with her and now that the summer program's over.
Yes, yeah, and
See,
see exactly what they're
Yeah.
at, what they wanna do, because we do have the one quote she already got, so I
Yes.
need to get 2 more, so I can.
yeah,
I
and
might
I,
have to get a
well,
few
I think we're gonna have to
on
bid it,
Oh, we're gonna-
unless
oh, that's
we,
right.
unless we can find a state, unless, yes. If we can do a piggybacking, then,
I'm on it.
okay.
I will let my husband who has access to state purchase.
Great, that's the one where I feel like I'm not gonna get to that. Oh. So the next topic is the short-term rental cap. I would like to set this by September 25th. What I wanted to do is just present some data that the board had requested the last time we talked about it. And I have been in contact with the Housing Advisory Committee. They had issued a really great advisory comment in 2024. But would like the opportunity to write something new. They can get that to us by the 22nd. Ken, do you want to join us for this?
No, I'm just listening, you know.
Oh, okay, okay,
If you have a question, I'm here to.
okay. I wasn't sure if there was anything you wanted to add on the topic. I had invited members of the Housing Advisory Committee if they wanted to join our discussion.
So what were they gonna provide us?
A new advisory comment for what the cap should be.
What did we just?
I had put this in our
Oh, this is
backup.
last year's letter.
I had put this in our backup a long time ago.
Great comment.
This is last year's letter, but they want to give us a fresh letter.
Yes. I think a lot of this is still true.
Yes.
Do we have data on on enforcement issues related to STRs?
What I have is the permit holders that have failed their inspections. I don't have any data on non-compliance of people who didn't get a permit. I have data on people who are applying for permits and not necessarily receiving them.
Well, go ahead.
And what about permits that have been surrendered or lapsed through sale?
Well, that I am waiting a second piece of information from the code enforcement office. What I have is 66 permits that were issued in 2024 and 2025. What that means is those are people that had an active permit. Anyone who has an active permit for a non-owner occupied unit can always, and they're in good standing and there's no lapse, they can renew. I don't have the list of permits issued in 2023 that would be expiring at the end of this year. So I requested that. I have the spreadsheet, but it turns out it's
But
only.
do you have data on, so those permits are non-transferable if the property sells?
Correct.
Do we have any indication of how many of those permits are no longer valid?
The only way I could know that, well, I don't have that like permit to permit. The only way I know that is by the numbers, because we've had a zero cap. So if we now have less permits than we did last year, then we would have
But you
less.
don't know how many permits are still open that are no longer eligible to have those permits because the property is sold.
In the 2 years that it's been active.
Yeah, I don't know how we would.
I mean, the way they'd have to do it is take the list and look and see who the current owners are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you'd have to look at the list of the people who have permits and ask the assessor to see if any of those properties have been sold.
And then the other thing do we have any other indications of the number of unlawfully operating short-term rental units and violations arising from STRs in general?
Yeah, I don't have that information for you for tonight, but
Okay.
that is information that we have. What I got for you tonight is what's in the code itself is that by November 1st, the town board sets the cap. The idea is that we preserve residential housing units for all income levels. That's a consideration when we're setting the cap. That's what's in the law. And we're supposed to go off of the number of residential units according to the final assessment roll of that year. What I did was well, Jeremy ran a report for me. And then he indicated on his report how many units or any residential use that wasn't a single family.
That was my question, was, is this going to apply to other things like Airstream trailers, or is it just what could be considered permanent housing?
So this has the,
But people, I mean, I guess people have them up there at campsites too.
well, so,
But that-
well, so for something like an Airstream trailer, it's not allowable in our town to live in it as a permanent housing, and it's also not allowable to rent it as a short-term rental. So we aren't considering those as housing units, so that's Rizzoli. This is a spreadsheet that's in the Dropbox if you wanna download it and manipulate the information, but what I did, this is just an Excel sheet. Oh, maybe that's not that. He had highlighted the ones that are in red for me. I feel like those should not be included because I don't know that those are actually residential, would indicate that there's a permanent residence there. But I was gonna ask Jeremy about that. So what I did is the number of parcels was what was in the report that Jeremy gave, and then I have the number of units in the middle column. The one that says apartment, that's at the bottom, 411, he said those are at least 4 units, so I just put in 4. And then everything else, I indicated what he indicated. So, we haven't actually done it, the calculation in this way before, I don't think. I haven't ever seen, you've done it with these same codes. So
I've gone through and pulled it out myself from the entire
Yeah,
assessment roll.
so
I haven't had them run me around.
what I was gonna say is that I don't have a breakdown for previous years of like how the number of units was arrived at and what codes were included. This is what I pulled out with Jeremy.
I wanna say last year and the year before's came as a report that Joanne did for us.
Yeah.
But the first year prior. No, so last year's came from a report with Joanne, the year before that, I think is when I just took it. Cause me and Adam sat here and added up the roll together and.
Yes, yeah.
And that was the last time, and then we had Joanne run a report
Yeah,
after that.
so what-
So there might be one.
What the law says is basing it off of the total number of residential units. A short-term rental, though, I don't want to get it confused, a short-term rental can only be a single or double family home or 2-family home. No other housing units in town can be used as a short-term transient rental. So
It includes double to 2 family.
yeah, single and 2-family. So those are the only types of residential units that are allowed to be a short-term rental, but the law is saying basing it off of residential units in town. So this is the number I came up with. It's not the number because we need to agree exactly what property class codes we're using. It's somewhere, it's gonna be 3,500 or 33,450 based on these numbers would be the minimum that it would be. We would like to be a pro-housing community, and we would also like to be in the Housing Smart program, and that it's 2%.
Under 2% max.
And so,
70.
yeah, that,
Give them the highest total.
huh?
71 if you give them the highest total of the 3549. Based on the number of units, not parcels,
Yeah,
that's 70, it's 70.98 is 2%, so that would be 71 permits. And that's in total, it's not new permits, that's how many.
Inclusive.
Yes.
Inclusive,
Well,
non-owner.
for Housing
Or
Smart.
housing smart, to be considered for us to continue to get consultant funding, etc.
So that's, this, I'm just sharing, this is what we're sharing. I also shared this spreadsheet with the Housing Advisory Committee, so they can look at the spreadsheet and edit it how they see fit. The other thing I shared is just the code itself, which there were questions the last time we talked where you guys were asking what types of housing units are we supposed to consider as our total, and so that's why I was providing this information. And then I got a request for more data, which I will try to provide to the board and the Housing Advisory Committee as soon as I can. That way that can go into any considerations we have, but I would like to do a deadline decision on that as of the 25th because the permits are supposed to open in October, so I don't want to wait till November 1st. Okay, so the request for more, this was sales. Non-compliant. Operational. Numbers. And then, the other one, was there issues arising from valid permit holders? Was that something?
Already existing valid permits. De facto non-valid because of sale.
Oh, okay, yeah, got it. Okay. Oh, and then drops. Okay, great.
Adding to that. Every month we hear about issues through the constabulary report with short-term rentals, and I've never seen any data on if there are specific addresses, if there are repeat offenders. So it would be good to get more specific details of what properties are being called in.
Whether it's 5 properties that are multiple complaints that.
Right.
So there's those reports or something.
We need a process where after several violations.
Okay.
Permit gets pulled.
Okay. Great. Anything else on that topic or ready to move on? All right. I knew about the petitioning last week. When I found out about it, it was called a protest at the stop sign. So I wanted to have an agenda item, a discussion item. Just to see where the board is at. We did discuss earlier in the year, wanting to reduce speed limits on some of the local roads to 25 or 30 from 35. This specific intersection opens up a lot of like questions about traffic in general and whose decision is what and what should we be using to make the decision. One of the things I've learned from this process is that I think we need to be very thoughtful and we shouldn't be changing our mind. You know, like the stop sign went up and then it came down and then went back up
That
again.
wasn't us.
I know that wasn't us.
That wasn't us changing our
Yeah.
mind. That was a highway superintendent acting illegally and putting up signs without our authorization. And we asked for them to be bagged, not to be removed, and he removed them instead of bagged them, for the record.
Yes, I guess what I'm saying is on this, one of the things I've thought about is this is not traffic signs and things like that is not something that we want to be taking lightly or changing without, I think, a lot of thoughtfulness. So I just wanted to see what the board thought about just the immediate issue and then also any next steps that we want to take in general. Like I believe, Mary Lou, I was under the impression that if we wanted to reduce the speed limits on town roads, we still have to get approval for that. Is that true?
Yeah, from the state. Yep, from DOT.
So that's my number one is would the board like to put in a request to reduce the speed limit on any of our local roads? Because that's not something we can just do on our own.
What is the
It's 35 there, and then there's other roads that come up with requests that, you know, I could put together.
I support that.
I think we should have a comprehensive list of all the things that we want to change.
All the roads that we want to change or all the things we want to change?
All the things we want to change, so that we can determine. See if we can get consent from those once and see if we can have any economies of scale for the traffic studies, et cetera.
Are you talking specifically about speed limit reduction or just? Oh, okay.
What's the timeline for DOT process on this?
I was just gonna mention that, Alexis.
Time took a year to 3 years.
Yeah.
I got a rejection.
Forever.
What's practical here then, you know?
I mean, I think what is nice, I think, for the public is if we take action on
Mhm.
something that they're passionate about. It wasn't stated tonight, but one of the things that came out of that gathering was I was told by several people that everyone who was there supported a speed limit reduction, regardless of whether or not they want the stop signs. That people all thought that speed limit reduction on that road would be positive. I don't wanna just make that decision, lightly, but it also made me think is like, if we're gonna do that on that road, we should think about all the roads that we want a speed limit reduction on and just put that together and then and then we agree upon that request and then we send it out.
And when's the date of completion for the bridge again?
Fall of 2026.
Fall of 2026. So all of this could be coming into completion at the same time then. Because like that was a comment that I had, same as you. It's like, do we want to change traffic behavior temporarily?
Right.
I think that was the big consideration at the time, right?
Yeah.
So if we do a traffic study to change traffic behavior, I don't think we want to willy-nilly just take the signs down while we're waiting for all these pieces.
Right.
So that's what I would support, is leaving the signs up and doing whatever we can to get DOT moving.
But I think we have to do it on a comprehensive basis, so that we're not doing intersection by intersection.
Do we have a list of all roads in town by state, county,
Yes.
local with the speeds?
Oh, with the speeds?
Yeah.
I
know
don't-
it varies on-
I don't have that list.
Yeah. Cause like I know we've heard about, like I've heard Stony Hill Road, people think people are driving too quickly, Glen Farm, there's Whitfield, and some of it we have control over and some of it, or we can petition, some of it's harder.
I mean, all town roads are 35.
I think Queens Highway is more than that. No, yeah, Queens Highway is 40.
Oh, is Queens Highway 40?
So is Samson.
Samsonville County, yeah. Do we have to get authorization to raise the speed limit? Or is it just lowering it below the threshold?
I think it's changing it, but I can check.
Just changing it, okay.
I support compiling a list of roads that we've had complaints on. And doing like a feasibility idea on what ones could need lowering. I think that that's covering up a bigger issue. Which is that we don't have county or state law enforcement support. Our town is 90 square miles and they're barely ever here. Helping and supporting our roads. We have part-time peace officers, not patrol officers. For our town constables, they're not traffic control, and I think that we should really start. Lobbying and really petitioning the county that they need to actually take care of the center of the county, which is the town of Rochester. I don't disagree that our road should be safer, but I think reducing the speed limit is only going to make a higher fine for the people driving on the roads when they get caught. We need actually police presence and officers there, like they're saying at the stop sign, writing people tickets who are breaking the law so that people will hopefully learn their lesson once they have to plead guilty so many times and pay the court fine. But I think that only doing this is a Band-Aid.
Yeah, there's still the enforcement issue on this. Sorry.
For 90 square miles, man, and like there's never a cop. One past Boyce Mill, there's never a cop. I grew up 5 miles up Samsonville Road my entire life. And if you saw a cop, it was because they were coming from someone's house. It was never with their light, they were always had their lights on, it was never just sitting there past our courthouse. And we need better enforcement in our town in general, that's why that happens. People have been on voicemail since before there were houses in those fields. They're gonna do it when there's more of them. There needs to be a presence there that actually stops it. And we also need flashing signs on Kaiserite Road by the school, that's a brand. Every other school has flashing and signs that tell people their speed, except for Kaiserite Road. Where kids are actually actively playing sports on the side of the road without guardrails. It is a county road, but I just was saying, I think you should petition that. We've had complaints about County Route 2 and how it's 55 miles per hour, which is the extension across Lucas of Kaiserite. I think that kind of section needs to be just in generalized, looked at myself, but I know it'll probably come up because we've had.
So you reached out, didn't you reach out about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. But we
They're
haven't
on
heard
Old
anything.
Kings Highway where there's no children playing, but not by the school.
Well, we have the,
County Route 6 got reduced.
we have the,
45.
we have the
40.
mobile or the movable flashing signs, right?
We have the one,
Yeah.
yeah. We had that on Cherrytown most recently. Yeah, I think
Could get more of those.
the county is very receptive right now to this issue. So I can see if I can try to put something together. There has been quite a bit of what they've been talking about. The one thing they were piloting this year that I feel, just being perfectly honest, I feel conflicted about is the drone surveillance, where they have drones over areas, and then that's how they're doing
Speed enforcement,
mhm,
who does?
the
Oh,
county.
speed enforcement on cars?
Yeah,
Oh, I think that's fine.
they're.
I
so
thought you
they're-
meant like looking at people's like properties,
Well-
like they haven't gotten shot.
Anyway, that they were piloting that this summer throughout the county.
Is there any legal challenges to that?
I don't know, or they're going to be piloting it. There were lots of announcements about it, but I haven't heard anything.
There's those signs all over the thruway saying that your speed is enforced by
Yeah.
whatever, airplane radar. I've never seen one.
I thought it was
Well,
those little that you drive through.
I will tell you that I live a quarter mile from the thruway, and there are times that you hear the helicopters and they're doing speed enforcement. Lots of times you hear them just because that's the route they follow to get to, hospitals and things. But there are days that it's just going back and forth and they're not searching for anybody. But not often anymore, but every once in a while you hear them doing the speed enforcement.
It'd be great if the county would start a program to get more of those flashing signs too.
Or at least
We
put
can
them on all the.
buy them.
All it
Yeah.
has them,
What
like
did,
it.
what did it cost?
Well, this is part of why, everything's not the budget right now, but this is part of, I've been thinking about. Are there other, I get enforcement, I agree, but like, are there other, we have like. The set things that we've been doing, but are there other tools that we think that we as a town could invest in? That aren't like huge investments. That could help either monitor, like we could have, the speed. There are the ones that will, it's not a drone, but you go over it, it says your speed and it captures the driver.
Oh, that's a thing?
Mhm. Yeah. So there are things like that. It's just,
Speed cameras.
I think the signs are, I'd be curious what those cost, because they are effective, especially for people that are speeding because they're being absent-minded, like people who are just speeding because they want to drive fast. It's less effective, but when it flashes at you and shows you how fast you're going, it does make people slow down and don't realize what they're doing.
there's other like, we have rural winding country roads, but a lot of the studies show that the best way to get people to drive slow is actually the physical placement of the road and trees and making how the road, not having straight roads.
Should move all our roads.
We should make them really windy and hilly. We already have lots of those though.
Voicemail's so windy, it's because people race on that road. People have raced on that road for 30 years. That's where teenagers race their cars trying to pass each other in the flats. We need to put a deer decoy, so people think a deer is about to run out in front of them and they slow the hell down.
Or just let the big potholes stay. That's a joke, but not really.
I like it.
Natural speed bumps. Okay, well, I have,
Signs.
we have some good homework for me. So I think we can move on. That's okay. I don't have the draft local laws that I was hoping to have. The main, we do have to have something for soon, because there's been I think, Mary Lou was insightful in how to think about this, but the ambulance squads reached out to us about changing the district map because the parcels are split, and then there's some, the district, there are some on like a road where like it's actually one squad has to go like around and the other, yeah. And the question is like, where are those parcels in relation to the con lines? Because we had to follow those, so we, huh?
Certificate.
Oh, sorry, certificate of need.
It's what.
So,
And I believe on that, I know there was the one spot where KFAS did have to like go through Marbletown rescue territory, but when we first did these maps, but that is because of where their certificate was.
right. So we are investigating how best to address this issue. If it's something that we can address through a local law, we will do it that way. If we need, I don't know if we can see if the certificate of need district area can be adjusted. I don't know what
They'd
that,
have to talk to county EMS to do that.
okay.
But
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, like, we didn't arbitrarily decide those parcels. It was based off of data from the county. Now, the data from the county might have been wrong.
Right, and then the other question, the other question is, we have split parcels, so some people receive, they're on their tax bill, a portion of their parcel is taxed in High Falls and a portion of their is the Rochester district. And like, I don't personally think that there's any benefit to that.
It should be whichever squad is responding.
To the
The
property,
residents
right?
on the proper.
Now,
the
there-
response there.
There might be some examples where to
But-
get to one side of a property, it would make sense for Marbletown to respond, and to another side, it might be KFAS, depending on how it sits. If it's like a large parcel or a long parcel or something.
Yeah, but I think those splits were also determined by the certificate of.
Well,
Right.
Yeah, these are questions I'd like to get remedied this year, because the split parcel, I don't know, the taxing district is supposed to support the squads, the coverage, and so to me, the split parcels, it's like two different things. Cause part of your money, the way you're being taxed versus how you'd be getting responded to are like two different things.
Yeah,
The parcels don't equate to residents.
No, but that's
Right,
what it is, it's that, to me, that
Some
means
of
that on
them
the
do.
com, that half of it must be a larger parcel where half of the parcel is under Marbletown's, obviously. Whether there's a house on it or not, there could still be an emergency in that portion of the parcel.
But
That, we need to know, clarify
Right.
which from the ambulance guides, who has right away.
And I remember looking at some, I have to look at the map again, I remember looking at some of them, and it wasn't like there was a road on the other side of the parcel, it was just.
Were they by the town border though, or something, maybe? Didn't Marbletown expand?
how many
theirs?
split parcels are there? Do you know?
Oh, I don't remember.
Cause Marbletown didn't change
not
their
that many.
district, they didn't change their comp to sign on with us. So they would have probably gone off the original like town map, and anyone with like Marbletown zip code or something like that, I think, to make their map, so I would assume any that are close to a town border, that's probably why they're getting split, but we'll look into it and address it and see what we can do for.
well, they were split because the county data
Yeah.
split parcels, and I don't know why that was. I would think that it should be, that the squads should determine who's responding to what, and assuming that they can have an agreement, we would probably need an agreement that they both sign off on, that these are parcels that will be, because like Marbletown, for example, I believe has a con that covers the entirety of Rochester. Even though they only respond to like the High Falls area. So as long as there's an agreement about who is going to be the primary dispatch.
But
to-
911 has to sign off on it.
Right, and I would say the county EMS also needs to agree to that. I think then we can make the changes, but what I don't wanna do is just arbitrarily say, you know, these people, KFAS in this case is responding to these addresses, and then Marbletown has an issue with that, so everybody needs to agree who's responding, and then I think it's just a question of how.
I know the squads agree.
Yeah.
They've already come together and agreed, but it doesn't match the district map.
Right, so then I think if we just need a signed agreement with them and send it to county EMS and say, this is how they're saying the dispatch works, if that's accurate. Then we can modify it.
We have to be sure that, I think you're right, Michael, that Marble Towns does cover the whole town or most of it. So
Yeah,
it's probably not so much a problem when Marbletown is responding. But if KFAS is responding and they don't have a con for that address, I don't know that they can make that agreement. Maybe they
think-
can. I'm not sure though.
I think
and it-
KFAS
it
also
kinda-
has a con for the entirety of the town of Rochester. And part of.
Okay, well, all right. Well, let's check that. Let's check that. Yeah, Rochester does have, or KFAS has part of Warsing, and I know that Marbletown just got approval, and this comes at the state level, not the county level, and they now have the entire town of Rosendale as well.
All right.
So I don't know if they changed
Yeah.
anything with that.
So this is more, the next thing is more a statement that, the board can set required trainings for our boards. And we typically, we set the required, like, training hours, and what they're usually doing is just, you know, subject matter, so it would be planning and zoning and land use type things. But I think we should do, I wanted to know, Mary Lou, how best to set a required training. Can we set a required training that's like topical, or do we have to have a specific training that we want everyone to take?
Are you talking about everyone in the town taking the same training, or you're talking about?
I want to, all of our staff, for example, receives a sexual harassment training.
That's what I was wondering if that's what you're talking about. Yeah, so the training that they have, the 4 hours of training that they have to have has to be, that's a state requirement for their,
Right.
planning or zoning. But yeah, I think that we should require all these other trainings. And I can look into that.
Okay, yeah, I want to adopt a policy, a training requirement policy, so that we then, and then have, what I would like to do is have, what those options. I just wasn't sure if we could just say these are required and then issue the ones that they have to take annually, or if we have to say you have to take this specific training. I think that was my question, but.
Oh, okay, all right.
But also happy to have you do the thing that you just said you would do.
Okay, yeah, and I'll look at that. Because
Okay.
there are a lot of online trainings now. I think that maybe you just have to have an approved online training.
Right, yeah, we'd want it to cover everything that we think should be covered.
Right.
Okay.
Do town employees do their trainings online now, or do they do them in person, like a trainer comes in?
We've been doing them in person, but I would like that specific one can be done virtually. So I wanted to put that out because it's the time of year for those trainings to get done. we used to schedule one day where
Right.
training would happen, but um yeah, well,
Does the state provide any, online training for these sorts of things?
um maybe I
That
haven't looked.
I haven't ever looked into that either. Like I know my husband just, spent a week basically in all the different kinds of trainings you have to have. He's in healthcare. But it was all online. But
Right.
I assume the hospital contracts with somebody to do that. But it's possible that the state may have something. I don't know though.
Yeah, also our insurance broker has a tool that we can use, but I don't know that it covers sexual harassment training. It does cover other types of
Okay.
trainings too. Like a portal where people, there's like, there needs to be like a quiz element so that know.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. That was just a sort of bringing it up. Hopefully I'll have something on our next agenda for that. Do any board members have anything they want to say on that topic?
We need to do it.
Yeah.
Good idea. All of ideas for one thing.
Okay. Oh, nice. Okay, so Alexis, was glad you brought up both the municipal code thing and the grants. I am happy to have this be a general topic of discussion, but I put this on because I went to a grant assistance it was hosted by the Association of Towns, and they had a consultant that does grant planning assistance for government. He typically works with counties and state, but he is doing these workshops with the Association of Towns. So I went with my assistant, so we both went, and it was definitely worth it. I can go into more detail, but so part of it was we got to have some time with this consultant, and I talked a little bit about our town and his, asking about these big ticket funding opportunities and how they are a very big investment. He was talking a lot about the importance if you're going to work with a grant writer or consultant or a grant project consultant, that you go with someone who is really invested in getting to know your town and like the issues, and that is not the cheapest. You're gonna have to, it's never gonna be the highest, it's never gonna be a huge expense when you look at the overall cost of the projects you're funding, but it will be, he was saying it's really worth going with the highest quality that you can. So that was really good to hear. I thought like a good, we talked about a lot of the opportunities that we've all spoken about and how challenging they are and how they are 2-year projects. And that some of them are really worth it. Some of them are only worth it if you're going for like $1 million plus because of how much reporting and administration you have to do. When I talked a little bit about our town, we talked about being a welcoming community to economic development and housing, like all of this stuff was coming up. And I was saying like, well, we need new town infrastructure. We need like these ideas of having like the design charrette with supporting a parcel with mixed uses and housing. Like there's funding for that type of thing. And we would like to do that. And I was, it's like, it's all of it. And he goes, how old is your comprehensive plan? And I said, it's 20 years old. He was like, every single one of these grants needs a new comp plan. He was like, so that is the first thing you need to do. You need to budget $150,000, and then you need to pursue all of the grant opportunities to cover that you probably could do, but that is what you need to do. And you guys can let me know what you think. And I'm not saying that I'm opposed to pursuing any other grant, but that made me think, yes, I went into this job last year thinking I want to redo the comp plan because it's the basis of everything. It's the basis of new code. He also, what he brought up is if you go on this end of expenditure for a comp plan and you work, he's gonna help me. He's gonna get me the lots of recommendations for who he thinks the absolute best people are in the region. He's like, they're gonna do the work that you're saying that you need to do, because that will be a part of your comp plan, your housing, your mixed use parks, your, like, all of the things you're talking about doing, your town facilities, all of that is gonna be in that process, and it will be the public process. So it'll be something that you're doing with your entire town.
In the comp plan process?
Yes.
And that amount is to do the work of updating the comp.
He said he's like, for the type of comp plan that I think you need to prepare yourself for these opportunities, that's the cost.
And that includes looking at the code and integrating it.
That would not be a
No,
redo
no,
of code, no, but I think redoing the code
Is part of it, yeah.
is the next thing that you do after you do your comp plan. It's really hard to update code without
The kind.
comp plan.
But that's,
We don't get half off when we haven't done half of what was in that comp plan? And it needs to stay? No?
You know, Charlotte, every town, has the same, when you do a comp plan, you have, okay, and every year we'll look at this, and every 5 years we'll look at this, and every 10 years we'll look at this. And I think
Aye.
every town has the best intentions of doing that. And then you see all the things that come up and it just doesn't get done. So I think that's really important that after you have this new comp plan, this board and future boards stick to the guidelines and the timelines.
The one thing I will say, huh?
There's no timeline on what I'm talking about. Half of the comp plan is about affordable housing and there's still no affordable housing project here 20 years later. And that's what I'm talking about. That doesn't change for me in the comp plan. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think that there's a solid foundation in there that still needs to be honored and followed through.
Well, Aaron's saying that's a
Yeah.
contingency for these big expenditures is having to have.
No, I'm not saying we don't redo it. I'm just saying that a huge portion of it is already there for the cost of it. Like, I don't think we're rewriting it word for word when half of the objectives are still objectives that are important to this board. I think that,
Well, the way,
I'm saying, I don't think that it needs to be completely thrown out and a brand new one written. It needs to be redlined and updated is what I'm saying.
well, the way I see it, in my mind, the objectives in our current plan probably aren't gonna change from plan to plan. But
And
a
they-
good,
And they really haven't since the 1969 plan.
Right. but a good comp plan is gonna do the things that we've been talking about in, like, with our hack consultant.
Mhm.
And give us the tools and the ideas and the perspective we need to actually attract and like make those projects happen. Because like what was in the original comp plan was give, the idea for affordable housing was to give these incentive bonuses in zoning, which hasn't,
But that's all developers reference that they want. That's not the problem with attracting developers to our town. It's that we lack infrastructure. I've spent all year attending housing panels and conferences with developers and it's not, we check off every box that they list normally, except for infrastructure and an easy planning process.
yes.
We don't have either of those. That's why we don't get developers here. It doesn't have to do with our comp plan. It doesn't have to do with our zoning code. We allow bonuses, have the attractive things for it. We have the business.
Just don't have sewer and water.
We don't have sewer and water and we don't have a planning board that takes less than 6 months
but
Well,
wouldn't,
to process an application.
but wouldn't the comp plan, wouldn't the updated comp plan then advocate for those and potentially sketch out,
Yes,
Yeah,
longer
but
unlock
plan?
the big
just
grants.
that, like, I just wanna make sure that it's more than that, like, looking at it from just that perspective is what I'm saying, like, developers, we've checked off every box, except, like, from that side of it.
Yeah.
From developer's standpoint,
Did he have any connections to other towns that have gone through this life cycle that could be instructive for us?
Well, He is from a different county, which he did offer to spend a few hours with me pro bono, driving around the town and talking about that kind of thing. But he talked a lot about other towns, but mostly with getting some of these bigger grant programs and these grants for like these bigger projects and ways to leverage what you have in your town and also like the region. But I think what I wanted to sort of say about that is like, I'm happy to do whatever, any of our priorities, but what I wanted to do, the reason why I put this on, is because I'd like to think about budgeting for that. And then I've already found 3 grants that I think are not difficult administratively, but that could really cover the majority of that cost.
So I was gonna ask,
So,
the
like,
question,
I
is there a
think
grant?
That's what I was gonna say, is like, if I would like to prioritize that for myself in the budget, is seeing about matching that expenditure with a revenue. As a project that I would like to put together. Which is why I put it on the agenda, because I was like, we keep talking about grants and funding opportunities and capital projects and all of this stuff, and this, for me, made me feel like, okay, this work is gonna help prepare us. And if we're able to get someone who's really good and is gonna follow the type of community inclusive process that we want, we won't be having to do so much of that work. They'll be
Oh, yeah.
organizing those meetings and.
Right, that was the discussion we
Yeah.
were talking about. Millennium, just one example, is like the entire spectrum of services they could offer. Does David Church have any input into this process at all? Now he's,
For grants?
well,
Or-
well, just for the comprehensive plan and how to kind of think about these things in the broad view, because I also think it's important that we maybe take the community temperature on big infrastructure, because everybody said, okay, we want all these things, but once ground is broken, is there controversy here with some types of development projects? Like, do we feel like if we did do like a sewer infrastructure, like what's the disruption, for example?
All
Do
of
we
the
have-
farms on 209 where the main lines of it would have to go.
That's what I'm
But yeah,
saying. It's
those
like,
are like agricultural block for sewage. Most of the towns were, a right to farm town, so people don't want wastewater going through their fields or by them. If they break, it ruins their crops, so that's one of that just.
it's just an
problem I see.
example. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that. I'm not saying this is the end all be all, but for me, I think that's one of the reasons why thinking about doing. The comp plan process, where the whole idea is that the community is coming out, and like if that is something we're including. Which is something that we've talked about a lot, we would be able to gauge that as well and kind of see.
Maybe something to build into funding futures. Do you have any input about how to present development opportunities to the community?
But I do think that it's like, idea wise, I think a lot of these things can sound good, but then again, when you start getting into like, where specifically would this go? And like, we talked about making Hamlet, what was it, Hamlet on 209, and
I don't know who this we is, Aaron.
I meant we as in the town board,
It's
but
not a-
the town
Yeah, try to expand
instantly
the
was
sidewalk.
like, what are you
It's
talking
a one
about?
sidewalk town, Aaron. We went too
Well,
far.
I still think that was a viable discussion.
We just want to.
So that's why I put this on the agenda but I didn't want to specifically have that be the only thing. I have this, which I'm gonna see if I can get the digital copy of, because it has the hyperlinks. And Stacy's gonna add this to our database. But this is just like a short list of the government grants, what they're good for, who should apply for them, what you should apply, they're mostly infrastructure. But the big ones are a 2-year process, and you have to have everything basically planned and in place in order to so there's a lot of work that has to be done upfront in order to get those opportunities, which is worth it in the end. But I think if you don't know that when you get started, it's a lot more shocking than if you find that out in the middle.
Yeah, it all depends on what level they want when you're if they want shovel ready, if they want your site plan approved, so. It all depends on the funder and their requirements, the bigger government ones, I feel always want stamp blueprints.
Yeah.
Regardless of what it is, you could be putting up a shed, they're we need the blueprint.
So what he also said is he thinks that we would be a really good candidate for the New York Forward grant, but that would require the front work on it.
I mean, I think we need to update it because we're so much over 30 years. Yeah, do it, it's not. And I think that it's advantageous that we're actually talking about it now rather than. Well, wait, what happened in 2007 when we talked about it? 2005, 2006, 2007, when we did it for the first time. The second plan.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'll build that into the budget, and then I might even be bringing some of those grant opportunity applications to the board in the next 2 months. Some of them actually, we would need to put them in this year if we wanted to get that funding. Okay.
Exciting.
Oh, shoot, I forgot about the traffic ticket.
I had a little note.
Yeah, well, so we do need to update the traffic ticket form. I thought that I would have what I needed. I did sort of finally put together what the issues with the adopted form are.
Confirm that?
Well, some of it, but we'll have to look at the specific changes that I made and see if they apply.
Give some background after talking to the court today on this issue. There are 2 ways traffic tickets are issued. One is using the uniform penalty ticket, which automatically goes to DMV, which is what normal courts adjudicate. That requires that when the ticket is issued, that the identity of the driver is known at the time of issuance. And those are the type that normally go to courts. The other types, which is what we have, it's unusual for our type to go to traffic court because most municipalities that issue parking tickets like that go to a parking violations bureau rather than a court. And so those are the 2 types. From a manual standpoint, the ones that go to ones that are issued under the uniform traffic ticket have certain data that automatically feeds into the DMV system. And what happens when our court processes a traffic ticket now, they have to manually, first of all, investigate who the owner is, which is on the what's it called, Compass system, I think. And the people at the courthouse run a risk of being called by the administrator of that program and being asked, why are you running so many of these inquiries? Which is an inconvenience, but it's perfectly explainable. But they also have to input all the other information. And they can't do it immediately because they have to wait until the actual response from the ticketed party comes in, which could be 3 days, which is, I think, required by the ticket itself, or could be never. So they have a big stack of pending items. In addition, if somebody comes in and pays a fine. When it's dismissed, they don't know what to do with them. They don't know what to do with the money. If it's a personal check, which they don't accept, they can just return it. But if it's a money order, then they're not sure whether they have to book the revenue and deposit it and then refund it or how that works. So the simplest solution that actually takes it out of the course entirely is if we had an equivalent of the Parking Violations Bureau that just deals with them, and there generally doesn't require any adjudication at all. It just gets paid or not paid, and if it's not paid, it goes to DMV and gets into the system there. But they just said that it's unusual that parking tickets are adjudicated in a courthouse. So
I'm sorry. Who said that?
the court.
I've gotten tickets in every town in this county.
Parking
You pay
tickets?
all of them at the
Parking-
courthouse.
Parking
Yes,
tickets?
yes.
Which towns?
New Paltz, Kingston, Woodstock, Saugerties,
They all have parking.
Shandaken,
No, but they,
Mount Tremper.
but those are the
Benicia.
ones that were said, that's a lot of parking.
Yeah, I don't pay my meters often, obviously.
So, but what they said is that
You
specifically.
always go to the court
Paltz-
clerk. It's always the court clerk at the bottom. New Paltz, you pay at the court clerk. I paid one last month.
But what they told me is that Kingston and New Paltz have parking violations bureaus.
What
They may, but you pay at the court clerk. If you want your, if you have the ticket and you're pleading. you go to the
Yeah, so
court
that,
clerk.
yeah.
In Kingston, you pay at the comptroller. But we had discussed that doing a parking violations bureau when we first started when we were discussing issuing parking tickets. And at that point, the town board did not want to do it. They said we can do it through the courts. It's something we can do. It's through local law.
What does it entail, Mary Lou? Like, what's a bureau?
Well,
Just
that's what it's kind of an arm of the court, which may be why in New Paltz you pay at the court. It's but I do know of somewhere if you plead not guilty, it doesn't go to DMV. It goes like in Kingston.
DMV doesn't do
Well, the
any.
Parking Violations Bureau also has an adjudicatory, I mean, can also,
Well,
Or-
they do it in the city court if it's going to a trial.
I think it's,
All
the trials still go
parking-
to the, I think the trials still go to the court.
I think so too.
What the difference is, from my understanding from your email today, Mary Lou, is that this is what allows us to set the fines and have them just be paid.
Right, we can say, pay your $50 within the 10 days.
Yeah, but otherwise you're like not supposed to put the fine on the parking violation. The other
Right,
thing is that
Mhm.
the DMV doesn't do anything. The only thing with the DMV is there needs certain information so that if the court decides to put points against someone's record, they may do that, but it's, the DMV doesn't have any jurisdiction over parking tickets. They're always handled by the local municipality.
but it's reporting clearinghouse so that if you have unpaid.
That's
If
what
the
they're being
court-
suspended,
yeah.
if the court places a suspension on their
Yeah,
license.
if the court
or
does that, that is something that,
points
an
on
action
license,
that the
let us
court
be
could do.
issued by the court with the tickets.
So what is a bureau?
But under the uniform traffic ticket, the DMV system downloads a lot of the data on the driver and all that, but we don't know who the driver is, it's just a parking.
Parking tickets aren't vehicle traffic law, which is what's covered under DMV, they're parking non-moving violation. So they wouldn't have.
Well,
Right.
so Mary Lou, did you want to explain a little bit more about what a parking violations bureau is? Do you remember?
I have to say, no, I have to look into it again, just how it works. I just looked into the very basics of it. I didn't know if our court wanted that. If they're interested in us doing that, as Ollie has indicated,
They
you
didn't,
know,
they didn't say which way was better or not, they just said these are the two different ways to do it.
Well, why don't we ask them if it would assist them if we formed a parking violations bureau?
They
And if,
indicated
Well,
that
last
they
time
would,
when
but
we
they didn't
wanted
endorse that.
comment on the actual.
Well, so we don't have to put it up to the court, so we have options. One is we could do it that way. However, that's a local law. Also, we have a local law that says what our parking violations should be. And we're doing them the way, we're issuing them in the form that our law says they should be done. So if we change it, we both have to change that law and we would have to establish a parking violations bureau by law. So I'm just, in the interim, it would be nice for these types of violations if we had a solution. Now, the form itself should be adopted by the town board. There is also a digital system that our constables have where the form gets inputted into that. And I believe that also syncs up and can pull specific data. What I was kind of thinking is instead of printing the paper tickets, what if I figured out what we needed to have that implemented so that then we're not printing a bunch of stuff that then we're not gonna use if we decide to go this other route. But I think that might solve some of the issues, though the whole fine thing is very confusing to me, so we'll just have to keep, because if someone pleads guilty, they should be able to pay, they've got to pay something, that's the whole point. But I don't.
I guess the judges think that, they should be setting that fine, because they can, if we have a $50.
Whoever sets a parking ticket fine in any town, I have paid a parking ticket.
And I know you have experience.
I have a
Yeah,
lot
but-
of experience.
But
You
it's
can ask
saying
any
like
of the
the court
clerks,
is
they know me.
dismissing them, even if the person pleads guilty and pays the fine.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
That's fine, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, that we should.
Just for the record, you pay parking ticket violations by cash or check at the clerk treasurer's office in New Paltz. So it's not explicitly the judge associated with their judgeship. So just for the record.
Yeah, and in Kingston, it's the comptroller's office.
Yes.
If you plead guilty, but if you plead not guilty, then they go to court.
I think there's options what I'm just trying to get at is changing it. I mean, would you be okay receiving those fines?
Yeah.
I think if someone pleads not guilty, then they go to the court, but if they plead
Mhm.
guilty, they can just pay the fine. But if we were to change it to that, it's not an instant process, is all. And it would be nice, we do have to have something. Legally.
You have to have, the whole thing isn't how much money we're gonna make, is deterrence.
Right. Oh, yeah, I'm not even thinking about that.
But what happens is if you have a perceived deterrence in a ticket that's not resulting in any penalty, what good, why are we
Right.
wasting?
I agree with you 100%. This whole thing has actually been incredibly upsetting to me, and I would like us to find a resolution. I do think we need to have something that we can do in the short term, and then if we have a longer term
Yeah.
local law resolution, we can move forward with that. But again, if it's gonna take 2, 3, or 4 months to do that, in the meantime, we do need something that is valid so that we can, these types of laws are very important to a lot of our residents and to keeping the type of trust that people have.
Yeah.
So you mentioned an electronic system, how does that work?
It's a computer that basically is the same form that we've adopted, but it's linked into, I looked it up. I forget, it's linked into one of the state policing systems. So you get information, like if you were to put in, I believe, you would get like a name, for example. So like, the other thing though, it is, I understand the, what's it called? Administrative work that goes into not having a name. But in the law, you don't have to have a name, but you do have, it does have to say that this is being served. If you don't have the name of the person, it's being served to the owner, the person that the vehicle is registered to. So that could, it has to say that, but you don't legally have to have a name.
It's not on.
So when you
most
put the
towns. It's
system-
only your plate, make, model.
So when you put when you enter it into your tablet or whatever, what happens then?
I'm not sure, actually, Constable Miller and I had like a quick exchange about it today, and I asked him if we could, if we could talk about it more, that I could get an understanding of that, but I know that that's something that we have, I just don't, I think there might be something we need to do to make it.
So the changes are, you're proposing changes in the Word doc. It looks like removing stuff into the plea instructions. You think this is sufficient?
Compliant.
And there were some changes to the
I haven't had
fees.
Mary Lou look at it, and I don't, she said she thought we could have it for next meeting. So after I got Mary Lou's comments today, and I've been doing just my own, like, reading
your own
about it.
research.
I was doing my own research. I put that together, but Mary Lou hasn't seen it, and I also don't know, I had some questions. And then I was like, I'm trying to fit it into this template, and that's also it takes a really long time to print. The ones that I had printed, it took 8 weeks. So I just,
And
if
what's-
there's a,
Nope.
so if there's a way for me to, if we could do it so that they're printing out, or if I can do a different printer, but I've been squeezing everything together, and I don't know if I shortened things in a way that, anyway,
looks
I need
great.
that to be reviewed.
It's very good layout.
Thank you, Michael.
Wait, what's wrong?
I hope to never get one.
So, but I think this is close. There's a spot to put the court date on it. I put the language for the name. I think it's close. I need to have it reviewed. And I deleted the errant
Can we send this to?
parentheses.
Can we please send this to the Sheriff Figueroa too for approval or?
I have
the
theirs.
office?
I have theirs, which I was gonna also compare it against.
I want written approval from an agency outside of the town of Rochester approving that these are valid and that they are enforceable and finable. Because I think that this conversation is ridiculous. And the
There
fact
are
that
other towns that use this very form, but our judges interpret the law.
Mary Lee, do we legally have to have a court as a municipality?
I believe we do.
Okay, so next, I think we'll get answers to the Parking Violations Bureau question. I'll have a form, the town board has to adopt a form, and hopefully by then I'll have an answer to whether or not we can use the printer for them, which my understanding is it actually, it does help for some of it gets it into a system. Because it only prints out one copy for the recipient, and then the information goes to where it needs to.
On electronics.
Yeah. But again, I don't know, Constable Miller knows a lot more about that than I do, so.
Wasn't there another agency to review this with? State?
When I made these tickets, I probably spent about 60 hours on them, and no one would help me, so.
That's why that we're throwing all of them out and we're redoing all of this is completely ridiculous to me and I want backups from another agency.
Government is incredible sometimes.
Good trip, man. I'll tell you that.
Very humbling.
Aside the re-endorse, it's crazy.
Yeah. Very humbling. Okay. that's it. Do any board members have anything else? Before we go into a executive session that has several topics that I'll try to move us through as quickly as possible.
I did find the basis of the AID districts, and it was it does cut parcels, and so I can follow up with the county and see if they have updated maps and what the process would be for.
Yeah. Thank you, Michael. Okay.
I move that we go into executive session at 8:40 to discuss matters leading to the discipline or removal of particular persons and matters regarding litigation.
So we have to name the litigation. So it's litigation regarding a claim by M&T Advanced Building Solutions regarding litigation against a property owner at 5 Ridgeview Road. Matters regarding a settlement agreement regarding the fee acquisition of Boyce Mill Bridge.
Agree.
Do you have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstain, motion carries. Mary Lou's gonna stay. Charlotte. Oh,
So ends the stream and not the meeting, right?
Yeah, that, go to more. Or go whatever.